Hi, I'm Josh Lee, and actually I want to bin off the intro this week. This has been my most productive week so far, and I'm really excited to show off all my work. So this is the starting room, and as you can immediately see, it is much more developed than it was last week. The room has assets and textures and materials and different locations for the numbers, and it's actually in a state where I feel pretty comfortable calling it complete. So in this first puzzle, we can make our way to the number pad to see 4 different colours. Over on the shelf over here, we can see 4 different colours and 4 different numbers. A blue 1, orange 2, pink 3 and white 4. Blue's the one on the number pad, so we know we're going with number 1. Behind these boxes and rolls and stuff, we can find a yellow 8. Underneath the desk we started, we can find a green 0. And on this 3D printer looking thing, we found a red 7. So then we know it's a blue 1, red 7, green 0 and yellow 8. And that'll be our first code. Now, going through to the hallway, we can see it's had the same makeover as the starting room. Whole new walls, roof, floor, assets, materials, 3D models, everything. Going over here to the number pad, we can see that the flower actually looks like a flower now, matching the colour on the number pad as well. It doesn't look like bum cheeks anymore, it looks pretty good, I think anyway. But as soon as that number pad, we're looking for 4 different colours of flower: yellow, pink, red and blue. We can go into this first bathroom, which again has had a makeover. And we can see a blue flower here with 4 petals. Now, leaving this bathroom, we will see a chair, which will be important later, a pair of headphones, sticky note, and a bin next to this table, which will also be important later. We can now go into the second bathroom and find now a pink flower with 8 petals, with a pair of headphones in front of it, which again will be important later. And we can see a map on the wall outside of this bathroom, which again will be important later, just breadcrumbing some clues around. Here we get a close look at these new keypad doors, and one thing I really like is the reflections on it, where you can see the world around you. Going into the head office here, I really like this room. There's lots of clues present in this room, such as the red flower on the shelf there, but I do like this picture of the clown as well. I think it's quite good. But yeah, looking around, so find our red flower. There's a few bits and bobs spread about that we'll need to come back here for later. But for now, we've got what we need. We know how many petals the pink, yellow, blue, and red flowers have, and we can put it into the keypad. So it's 5 yellow petals, 8 pink petals, 1 red petal, and 4 blue petals, which gives us access to the computer room. Now I'm going to pause right here, because I want to go through quite a big change that I made to all the rooms that I think is especially present here in this computer room. So when I was blocking out these different rooms, I thought I had a pretty good idea for the scale. However, upon putting different assets and models into these rooms, I realised all of them were way too big to make full and not feel just empty and vast. But I think this change of having smaller rooms actually works really well in the game's favour, as before the player would be moving around a lot in big empty areas looking for different clues, whereas now everywhere's quite full and it's quite easy to go from clue to clue without having to waste a bunch of time just moving around. I wanted to point this out though, because I think outside of the assets and the textures, it's one of the main things that makes this game feel different than it did last week. Anyway, back to it. As you saw in the video comparing the sizes there, in the old room there was 1 big TV, now we've got 4 separate ones, and a little translation sheet for Morse code, which again will be important later. After looking at those monitors, we can go back here and see the whiteboard, which still shows the player how to complete this monitor puzzle here. And last time we had 3 things set up, now we've got all 5 with chairs and cups as the other 2 objects to find. But for now, we'll focus on the colour monitor one, which is still the exact same as it was last time. We're looking around, finding all the post-it notes for different fruits to show us what colour goes where. I'll just skip over this one real quick since I went over it all last week, and the post-it notes are in the exact same place as it was last time. Apart from one, the strawberry one here in the head office. As I mentioned last time, these drawers open, and I've used that to my advantage to hide the strawberry note in there, just to make the player have to look around a little bit more and interact with the environment more. But now I'll just skip forward again until I've inputted the code into the monitors. Now that the colours are done, we can go over here to the counting of the object puzzle, and like I did last time, I'll just skip forward through the first 3 since I already showed them off last week. And here we get into some of the new stuff. We have to find all the cups in the map, so there's 1. There's another one, another set of monitors, and a chair under the table. We're looking around under all the tables to see if any are hiding somewhere. And we can go out into the hallway, have a look around. Not in the bathrooms or anything like that. I have a really deep look around. I didn't realize how in-depth I was going there. I made the game. I know there's none in the bathrooms. But here we can see a bin next to this table, which has 1, 2, and a 3rd cup on the bottom. So that's 5 cups in total we've seen. And I go into this bathroom as well. Bloody hell. All right. Really thorough check-in. Make me a detective. Goodness me. Anyway, we can go into the head office. We see a 6th cup on the table. Look in the bin. We can see 7, 8. Now we know there's 8 cups in total on this floor, so we can make our way back to the monitor. and input 8 as the code. Now finally we have the chairs to find as our last object. In here we can see 1, 2, 3, 4, a 5th one on the floor there. As I mentioned earlier, there's one on the table here, so that's 6. And looking out into the hallway, we can see a 7th, and I know there's none anywhere else, because I'm just so observant when I was checking earlier. Now that these two monitor puzzles are done, we can go down here to these 4 big monitors. I can't speak! Now that these 2 monitor puzzles are done, we can move down here to the 4 big TV screens, do the Morse code translation sheet in between them, and start working through this puzzle. So if we interact with the first monitor here, we get 5 little beeps, and this one has 1 little beep and 4 long beeps. Now we can compare these to the translation sheet. We go back to this first one, we see 5 little beeps. Look at the sheet, 5 little beeps is 5, and the first number is then going to be 5. 1 short, 4 long. If we go have a look at the sheet, 1 short, 4 long is 1. 3 short, 2 long. So now that's going to be 3. And the last one is 1 long, 4 short. So now it's going to be 6. 5, 1, 3, 6 is going to be the code for the next keypad we see, which will be to the storage room. We can make our way down to the storage room, try 5, 1, 3, 6. It lets us in, and now we can go to our final puzzle of the floor. In here we see boxes piled up, chairs thrown about, pallets, empty bookshelves, and everything is a mess. But the main thing we're concerned about in here is this whiteboard, which has the clue for the final puzzle. So we see a little riddle here, what contains 3 things that are all coded, and is somewhere in this floor. We see the way to break the code on the top here. So A is 17, B is 18, C is 19, Z is 16, Y is 15. I'm kind of hoping Z and Y help the player a bit more. Z is the 26th letter of the alphabet, but there's number 16, and Y is the 25th, and number's 15, so hopefully they put it together that it's the number in the alphabet back 10 from 1 to 26. Now I just want to pause here while I go through the solution to this puzzle, as it might get a little bit complicated. So using the pattern that the player's been shown on the whiteboard, they can sort of map out every letter to a number, which will then look something like this. If we then apply this code onto the missing words, we can spell out the full question, which is what contains countries, continents, and oceans, and is somewhere on this floor. We can now use this clue and have a look around the floor to find something that matches this description, and upon leaving the storage room, going past all the chairs and the boxes and tables, we can have a look around, and on the wall we can find a map. Told you it'd be important. Now this is a part that I'm a little bit worried about. I hope this translates for the player, but I'm not sure. If you go back to the board, we can see an arrow pointing at the keypad, and I hope this lets the player know that they've taken the word map and translate it back into numbers using this code. Now if we get the letters back on screen, we can spell out map using these numbers. So M is 3, A is 17, and P is 6, and that gives us 4 digits to use: 3, 17, and 6, which will then open the final door. Now behind this door there is still nothing. Creating this a little bit won't be too hard, it just means I've got to do something quite big outside of the engine itself. But I'll go through what I plan on this being. In that room, I plan on there being a table with just a record, a vinyl, which the player will be able to pick up and take into the head office, where I'm going to place a record player somewhere around here. And when the player plays it, it will play a song that tells them basically that the code for the final door is on the wall behind the photo. And if they walk over to this final door, then this photo will become interactable, and they will take it off the wall and read the code that's behind it. So this week was a very good week. Looking back at the goals I set last time, I'm pretty happy saying that I accomplished them all, which honestly I really wasn't expecting. It was a very heavy workload, but once I got into the flow of things, I just was working, and it turned out really well, I think. Now onto my goals for next week. The main one's obviously going to be do that last little puzzle with the record player and the music and such. But then after that, I want to start getting some unique music and sound effects in. Get rid of these stock sound effects and create some background music to make the game feel a bit more alive, if you get what I mean. But with all that said, that's me done for today. We'll see where I am next week, and goodbye.